All right. We are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream. Happy Friday. Today, we're going to continue working on more spells in the game. We finished Blizzard and Freeze Ground yesterday, so today we're moving on to a brand new spell. Let's go ahead and get started. So, I have a file that has the spec of all the monsters in Chapter 4, and we just finished utilizing the Frost Mage, or implementing the Frost Mage monster. Oh my god, my show's on! Hi, Plasticky! Aww, welcome! So today we're working on the Skeleton Lightning Mage abilities. The first one should be relatively easy. It's called Speed Up, and it's supposed to buff a random mage, non-mage, monster. Excuse me. It's supposed to buff a random non-mage, non-boss unit in range with a 20% movement speed buff for 20 seconds. And you can see here, it costs 20 mana, casts 15% of the time. Only if the valid target is in range will it cast it. So, what's interesting about these non-cast ones is, like, do we have to really indicate that they are casting, or are they just going to cast it, like, instantly? Because this is basically, like, a thing that you just kind of choom while you're running around. So, I have a feeling for this one, we're probably going to make it just create a small area with, like, little, like, plus sign particles or something. I think that would be a good way to indicate that. So, I mean, we already have circles. We have plenty of those. So, like, I'm probably not going to use this one, but maybe we'll use this one. Just to indicate, it'll be like, it'll appear and then just fade out. And then we'll create a bunch of little, like, plus sign particles, which I think we already have via the dot particle. We just have to rotate it however we feel like it. So if we look at the, maybe it's not called dot, maybe it's called pixel. No, pixel is literally a pixel. But, let me try dot. Okay, no dot. Circle? Circle. We have circle and we have circle outline, but we're interested in circle because even despite it being called a circle, it's actually a cross. So if we were to scale this up, we would essentially have a giant plus sign, and we can, like, rotate it in different directions. We can change its color, of course. So I think this would be kind of a perfect effect to use, at least for this. And we basically want to have, like, some kind of emitter, right? Although I don't know if we necessarily have to have an emitter. Also, for this snow effect, I wanted to go back to it real quick. Oh, and also I ran the unit tests last night, and they were all passing. Although I closed the window at some point, so now it doesn't show they're passing, but they passed. So I just wanted to make sure that was working. But let me switch back to release desktop. And I wanted to adjust the particle settings on the Blizzard real quick, at least a little bit. I think we want more initial particles. We want more particles to spawn frequently. So let's have a look. I think we specify a frequency for the emitter. So that emitter frequency, I want to increase. At least just a tiny bit. And so wherever we casted it in monster ability, we're going to go there and adjust it ever so slightly to be a little faster. So we said, like, 1 every 10th of a second. Let's just double it to 1 every 20th of a second. And I think that will be a perfect amount in terms of, like, the density I am looking at. That's ideally what I want. Okay. So just a little denser. Also the area we want to spawn them in, I think has to be a little larger. Just to make the effect feel better. So let me adjust the radius. Well, actually, I'll just adjust it here. I'm going to make it like times 1.25. So we're going to actually run the game and try that real quick and see how that feels. But yeah, happy Friday, everyone. We're closing in on the weekend, so that's exciting. But yeah, today we're trying to get the last of the monster spells completed. And if we do that, we can move on to the other monsters. And despite them being... Or that's not necessarily true. Then we have to develop the actual movement AI code for the skeleton mages. It won't be too difficult. They're supposed to, like, run around and try to avoid the player for the most part. Their goal is not to really get in your way and build up mana in the process. Basically survive and wait for those. But yeah, I hope everybody's doing well. Looks like the game just finished building. So I just wanted to cast Blizzard again, and we'll see how that feels. Oh yeah, I forgot. I have the sound effect for the game. The sound effect value for the game turned up pretty high. I'm just gonna move it down a little bit. And again, we will hopefully get a Blizzard cast in here at some point. It has a slightly higher chance to do the... Oh, it did it first try. Yeah, I think I like that. For some reason, though, the particles spawn a little more, like, offset from where they should be. You can see they're, like, taking up... At least I feel like there's more, like, in this corner, right? At least it kind of looks like that. So... Did I disable the... Like, maybe it's just me, but it looks a little uneven. But that's just RNG, right? RNG will do that. Did I disable the freeze ground? I did. I'm surprised it just kept doing Blizzard, but that's actually because I disabled it. Okay. So let's go ahead and... Basically, we don't even need to write, like, a new effect, because this is just going to kind of happen on the fly, right? Like, when the monster ability is cast, we can just search for targets in range and immediately apply that effect to them. We don't have to do anything else, and then we just add 2 effects, which are just standalone effects that appear on the field. So, realistically, we don't have to actually... do anything regarding making a new effect class, which is kind of nice. I like that. So we're also going to add a new monster, because this is going to be a different monster that actually creates these. So this ability is called Speed Up, and the final ability we'll be adding is called Thunder Orb. So both Thunder Orb and Speed Up are the 2 last ones we need to add. And now we're going to probably not do this. We're probably just going to do a standard, like, effect here. And then do a loop and do a couple of those, again, like pixel effects as well. So I'll probably do a for loop, probably from like 100 or so. 100 might be... When they say in range, is it like an AoE? Oh, it's just like one unit. So really the effect is more like spawn a couple of like those speed up plus signs, probably just on the unit we're casting it onto. So really we don't even need this. We just need to spawn those a couple hundred times and actually apply it to them. Okay, that's interesting. And also, this only happens on a condition. So only if a valid target is in range. Which is fascinating to me because this means we need to make a system to where we say we're not actually casting the spell. Because right now these are turned void, but now we have to add some capability to say, hey, we actually don't want to cast the spell for whatever reason, we're stopping it. Hi there, Kraton. Welcome to the stream. So we're going to be changing the return type of these lambda functions to actually be now a spell succeeded result is what I'm just going to call these. It's really just going to represent a boolean, but I'm going to make it a special name. That way I know what this return value is supposed to indicate. And maybe we can make an enum class out of it, actually. But we'll make that come from monster ability itself. So in here, we'll just say enum class spell succeeded result. Either spell completed or spell failed. And we can represent the underlying type as a boolean. And I'm just going to say failed is false, while completed is true. So something like that should be fine. Not to distract you too much, but are you familiar with the age verification stuff going on? Not in particular. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. Okay, so with this here, we can go back to monster. And we're going to be changing the type of those calls. Or rather, with those calls, we have perform spell here. We're actually going to get the result from it. So we need to actually change the return type of the spells in here as well to be the spell succeeded result. And then back over here, now that we when we cast it, we actually return a boolean, we can retrieve that boolean. So const spell succeeded result from this. So we're basically going to now see if this actually succeeded, of course. We're going to have to include monsterability.h because it incorporates that enum. Actually, I think we're just in the wrong namespace. This is monster. We need to be under monster ability. Okay, there we go. Because I'm like, it should already have monsterability.h, and it did. A bunch of bills are making their way through several legislatures around the US and the world in general, forcing OS level age verification. Oh. Well, damn. Well, that's not fun. It's like, there's a lot of talk nowadays about privacy and identification of users of the internet and regulation of it, and it's kind of crazy stuff. Okay, so the only reason we're checking for results is to determine if the spell is actually performed. So ideally, if it fails, then we're not going to subtract the MP because we didn't actually cast it. So if result is, well, we can actually say not result, I think, because it's represented as a boolean. Must be convertible to bool. I think even though it's expressed as a bool underlying, it's only for these values here. It's not necessarily mean it's compatible with booleans and still has to be compared. But anyways, we would say something like if result is not equal to, or result is equal to succeeded, spell completed, then we subtract mana, otherwise we don't do that. We also have cast ability here. That's fine. Okay, so with that out of the way, we're gonna go back to monster ability, and we can work on speed up now, because, well, now everything has to return something, right? So by default, they should return spell succeeded result, spell completed, because all of these will succeed no matter what. Oops. So you do that here, 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 and this one, and then we end up on speed up, where if we find a target, then we return, otherwise we don't. The New York ones are the most outrageous since it forced every application developer in the world who communicates with residents of New York to use said age verification. And the kicker is the law forces OS developers to offer an API, but it does not specify how, so each OS can have its own means to verify, and you as an app developer have to figure it out for every OS. That's weird. Interesting. I don't know how that would be enforceable. There's a lot to dig up there. There's a lot of questions and a lot of, it's very curious, right? It just has me wondering, like, how would any of this even work? What would they do? Like, what extremes or lengths would they go to try and make that happen? Do the folks that are proposing this even understand what that means, right? What that requires from just developers in general? What? I feel like there's not enough controls in place to make that a thing. Like, it's not like me, a hobbyist programmer, making a game on Steam has any, or they don't have any jurisdiction over what I create with my software for something I'm giving to the public. More or less a very specific population of a public, right? That's very confusing to me. Anyway. So we're first going to identify any units that are in range of this unit. We're looking for a non-mage, non-boss skeleton unit in range. It just says in range. In range. I guess there's no value here. I guess it's supposed to be like maybe somewhere within like half a screen. Half a screen would probably be like 3 or 4 tiles away. So we'll probably make this a configuration value so it can be adjusted later. But I'm gonna say that probably 3 or 4 tiles away is a pretty good radius. I don't think that's too bad. So I'm gonna go over to... Where's my monster strategies? Oh, it's right here. And we're just gonna add in some values for that. Because I've been adding everything into the Skeleton Mage AI, all configuration parameters. So I'll go ahead and throw speed up radius into there. And we'll just say it's 400 for now, which represents 4 tiles. It only applies if your application, website, or service has an online component. So no multiplayer should avoid it. Okay. Then in that case, what do they intend to regulate then? What is the point of all this? They're like, okay, let's target internet-based content. But what about stuff retrieved from the internet that does not establish a network connection? What is being achieved here? I don't understand. So, speed up radius. Let's get the speed up amount in here. Or maybe, what is it called? Intensity? No. I'm just gonna call it amount, or speed up boost amount is going to be 20%. And it's for 20 seconds. Speed up boost duration is 20 seconds. And there's just an extra note that says it stacks with haste, which that's fine. So with these values, that should be all the variables we need to determine what we need. So first we're going to get a list of entities that are in range. Entities in range. And we can do that by using our new targeting function. So we use target... Get targets in range. And so we're looking for anybody from the, I guess the cast position, which should be the same as the monster in this case. The radius will be speed up radius. So config pixels, speed up radius. That converts a distance value to pixels in game, so we don't have to do anything else. It says every 100 units is 24 pixels. And then we have an upper level flag, which we just follow with the monster's upper level flag. And then we have a Z value. And finally we have what the hurt type is. So we're attempting to, I guess, quote-unquote, hurt monsters from this monster, as in we're retrieving monster-type monsters. So that will complete that. And then this is an if statement, so the comparison is going to be entities in range. Actually, we could probably do the comparison right here because we have the assignment. We just have to put parentheses around it. And we can say dot... Apparently that doesn't work. But let's do a semicolon. Entities in range dot size is greater than 0. And if we have that, then we'll go ahead and initiate the buff. Otherwise, we return spell succeeded, result failed. Spell Click say result, spell failed. No worries. That's definitely interesting to hear and is news to me, so I appreciate just hearing about it. It's kind of crazy, to be honest, and I guess I'll just keep an eye on it and see what happens. It's weird to see what kind of regulations are trying to be pushed out just in general for the internet as a whole. There have been quite a few interesting things pulled out so far. How far are they willing to go, right? Like, how... The way I think about it is, like, how free is the internet going to be in 10 years if we think about all the ways mostly government is trying to regulate things, right? Regulating it, now that it's, like, such a central part of human culture. It's interesting to think about. When you think back to an internet age, not even 5-6 years ago, which is like kind of like when it was like growing and more and more users were discovering it, it was basically a free internet. Anything goes, right? There was nothing at all other than what the big telecom companies provided in terms of network access. And that was pretty much it. So that's fascinating. But thank you for that. Okay, so we'll return spell completed otherwise, but we'll do all the other stuff first. So if we find an entity in range, we'll buff them. And I assume we only are supposed to buff one, and perhaps only buff one that doesn't have the buff yet, because I don't think it makes sense to keep buffing one that already has it. So we kind of want to filter what we get out of this even further, which is interesting. Do I want to do this all in one line is the question. I'll probably split this up, but basically we're going to take whatever we get out of here, and we'll do a filter. So let's filter by any units that don't have this buff already. And I guess if there are no monsters that don't have this buff, then it would target the monster that has the lowest remaining duration on the buff already and rebuff them. But it says random, so maybe none of this applies, because it says random here. So I'm thinking, okay, for any targets in range, choose one randomly. We still have to filter it out for non-mage and non-bosses. So let's see, how do we detect mage enemies? I guess we can look for the skeleton mage AI. All mages have the skeleton mage AI. But it says any random non-mage. Will there be other mage units in the game? How would I detect those? I mean, do we add a property to monsters that say I'm a mage or not? Or we can assume any monsters that have spells are mages. I kind of like that idea. Any monsters that cast spells are considered mages. I'm going to ask my game developer if that is what the intention was. So let me just write that out real quick. Are mages considered any monster that has a spell here, or only skeleton mages? Alright, so we're gonna assume for now any monsters that have a spell are mages. Hi there, Sour. Good to see you again. Welcome. Yeah, welcome to the stream. we are currently implementing the next spell called Speed Up to buff monsters. So let me do a filter here, because we're going to get a vector of what look to be entities out of this. So we're going to do a const entity reference. And we're only going to return entities that don't have spells. So we have to look at... we're going to need a function that returns what spells it has. Or we can just say... Ooh, we can just add a function called isMage. I kind of like that. And they can't be a boss either, so we already have an isBoss function, we just have to bring it over. Okay, I like this. So we have to go back to the entity class for a little bit and modify it. We're gonna add two new functions here. We'll call one a boolean that returns isMage. And this is nice because this makes it so we can actually control what mages are in another function later. So I kind of like that. And then we have isBoss. So two booleans, two const boolean functions, and players don't have an isBoss function because they're not bosses. So if it's a player, we'll just return false naturally. And I guess players are considered mages, or is only the wizard class considered a mage? Right? Like I could go the route of, well, every single class has abilities, but are abilities spells? Or are only the wizards and the I forgot what the other spellcaster's called. Are only the wizard and witch spell mages? Like, we could go this far, which is kind of funny. So I will say, in this case, I'll actually split it up instead of calling class function because we have two different things. So if we are a player star pointer, is that not how this works? Type. So holds alternative. I think okay, yeah. Then we're going to do return false. No, return true only if we're a wizard or witch class. So we have to do get class. So we're gonna get the player pointer. For some reason these aren't working, or they're not doing. This may only be used inside. Oh, these need to be member functions. There we go, that makes more sense. So, get class name. Is this an enum? I think this is an enum. So we can say is equal to class ranger. Are these bits? Oh. Yeah, these are bitwise. Or, yeah, these are bit flags. Ooh, okay. So if they're bit flags, we can do an OR comparison and see if that returns true. And we're going to wait, is that right? No, we're going to but we're going to OR two values together and then AND them based on the player's class. So we have either witch or wizard. And if we OR these two together, we get those two bits set, which means if the player class has one of those two bits set, then this will return at least a value of 1 or greater, which is true. Otherwise, it will return false. And then our other case is, otherwise we return standard unreachable. And we have our little error here. So we'll bring that back in too. So monster, pointer. Yeah, the internet of the future is in danger if you ask me. Rather, through monopolies creating de facto gateways of information and distribution, or rather from legislatures stripping away means of privacy. I definitely see the moves for mass identification services being requirements to exist online. Not trying to be hyperbolic, but between the UK's age requirement laws, Brazil's, and now US, it's not pretty. Yeah, here's hoping, right? Or who knows, maybe a new underground internet will be developed, a more free internet, and the process repeats itself for as long as humans continue to exist. We'll just build a new network with new computing systems. I mean, before the internet, most things were just on what do you call them? Sectored off tiny intranets anyways, so who knows, right? We'll have to see. Like, maybe the next version of, like, the Linux operating system is the open source internet or something. The open internet. Bit fields are my programming guilty pleasure, especially in C++, where you can specify the size of an enum. I just create an enum uint16t and use it as state field, semaphores, etc. Yeah. But yeah, maybe we'll end up with an open internet. That's what happens with anything that gets regulated, right? Like, then you end up with some, like, open version that's unregulated. That's what pretty much happens with everything, so it's only a matter of time now. So for monsters, you're a mage if you have any abilities. So we're gonna say get abilities dot size is greater than 0. And that means you are a mage. Is this not? Oh, these need to be const functions. And then is boss. So for the player will never be considered a boss, so that doesn't work. But for a monster, we have an is boss function, so we'll just return that. Oh, I guess we don't have a flag for that. That's weird. I swore we did. We've calculated this before, and there's not like a boss field, I don't think. But I've calculated this before, so let me see. Is boss? Okay, there's a parameter in a function. Oh, the constructor. Is boss. It's literally a field. Oh, so it's probably just private. So I need to expose that function? Okay. I guess we can friend that function. So we'll say I need to grab the prototype of the function and just say friend const bool entity is boss. Okay, so hopefully that indicates that that is indeed able to access those members now from this class. So now is boss. Okay. That should be good. So I'm happy with that. Let's go back to monster ability now, and we are filtering by the is mage. So we only want stuff that are not mages and not bosses. So we can say if you're not a mage and you're not a boss, then we want you as an entity. And finally, we can actually choose one of those randomly. So we have to convert this back to a range after, because it's currently a view. So standard range is 2. And we'll just make it back into a standard vector. And then now, that's a vector again, we can do entities in range, not size. And see if there's at least one monster. And then we have to choose one randomly. I wonder if there's like a random view, like, is there a way to automatically select randomly from a view? I doubt it, but let's see. Let's go to our... Well, let's look at ranges first. I don't know what it would be called. I guess it would just be called like random range or something. Random view. View choose. Counted, drop, while, from range, chunk, adjacent transform, transform view, adjacent view zip, stride, reverse, concat, drop, drop while, lazy split. I don't think we have a way to just random here. Let me just search for... Specifies a range, okay, for a random access iterator, a random access range, which that's not what we need. That's a type. Let me look at algorithms. Maybe. Random shuffle. Randomly reorders elements in a range. Okay, I mean, if we do that and then pick the first one, that's definitely an option. Selects n... Ooh, sample. Selects n random elements from a sequence. Okay, I like that. I assume there's no version of this for views. Sample, but that's exactly what we need. So... I always like to look at algorithms library. There's a lot of fun stuff in there. It's my favorite place to look. So let me just see if sample is in views by chance. It's not. Okay, so we have to go back to being a range, and then we can sample one randomly. So instead of returning a vector, a random entity is going to be chosen straight from there. So we don't have to do a comparison. We just have to actually do it to this random entity. So it'll be like... So we don't even have to store it. We just have to get a random entity and then do a standard ranges for each on that range after we've filtered everything out. So standard ranges sample oh no, wait, we get the range back from this and then we sample on that. Okay, that makes more sense. So we do check if the size is greater than 0, which means we actually do something. So random entities in range, or random entity chosen, I guess. Which is still a vector, mind you. It's just it's going to be a vector of size 1. Random entity in range, or random entity chosen, that size is greater than 0. So we... Or entity... Wait, no. This is entities in range. That random entity will be chosen from this. Okay. So, go back, and in here... Random... Oh god. I am caps locking the heck out of this. Random entity chosen will be entities in range. Standard ranges sample inside of entities in range. And then output. Is that just a different... Wait, so what... I guess I didn't actually look at what this requires. Sample. Ranges sample. Requires... Let me see, 1. Okay, first, last, or number 2 is the range itself. The output iterator where the samples are written to. Oh, okay, so I can... It has to be an iterator? Selects m equals min... Oh, you tell it how many... Same as 1, but uses r as a source range, as if using ranges begin as first and ranges end as last. Number of samples to take is n. Gen. The random number generator used as the source of randomness. Interesting. I mean, I have a random number generator instance. I think I just supply that. I think I have, like, Mersenne Twister. Yeah, I do. So, they're just using uniform int. But I do have MT. Never heard of sample? Yeah, always learning new things. That's why I like just searching in algorithms. You find a lot of cool functions you never had to use before. And I always think, like, surely if I've wanted to use it, somebody has had want to use it at some point, right? So there is that. Okay. So output. The output iterator is going to be, so this can be any number of items, but I guess I'm just going to supply another vector here containing the randomly chosen item. So this will be an entity. Random entity. Oh, I guess that's the result of this, isn't it? So I was thinking I was going to set it like equal to, but it looks like I just have to provide the output iterator. So we're going to provide that. We just provide standard back inserter, which is a back iterator, back insert iterator for that. And then the number. So we're just going to get one item from the list. And then the generator should be, I don't think this is exposed, but let me go look in util.h. I assume it's initialized in here, probably statically. I don't see it, but let's look in. We do have class entity forward declared. So here's our distribution, which is the item we need, so... What? Oh, they're like initialized inside of... So, I might have to actually do a... Well, let me see. How would I want to structure this? Because these are actually static inside of the random functions itself. But... I will need this, and this is global. So in theory I could grab that. Oh, Miffy fell over. I might just make a new one specifically for, like, it shouldn't be too bad. It's not really wasteful, I don't think. All things considered. Like, I just make a static version of it over here to do the same thing. But then why not just make something to grab it from here, I guess. So what do I need? Realistically, I need at least... I can make the distribution fine, but I need the Rossini twister itself. So I need to make something called like get RNG. So I guess it's standard MT19937. You know, seeing you have to figure out your own code is reassuring. I find myself looking at my older stuff and thinking, what in the world was I even doing here? Oh, yeah, this project, I pay very close attention to writing readable, understandable code, because I knew it was going to be a very long project, and I had to make things as dummy-proof as possible, right? So that in 6 to 12 months from now, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I still know where things are. I still know what I have to do, right? I can easily find what I'm looking for. Because I'm trying to very carefully make sure my mind spends the least amount of effort finding and doing things, right? And that comes with a reward. The reward is your code remains maintainable and usable over the course of years. But it is slow, and you have to really think sometimes. So it's always something I keep in mind as I'm doing this. Get RNG. So this will be static. But it's, yeah, it's nice to hear that I'm kind of like, that can be reassuring that a project that gets to this level for a solo developer is still maintainable. This should be a reference. I don't know if const will matter here. I hope it doesn't, but if so, I'll just change it. And yeah. And then we just return it. That way, at the very least, I have access to that, and then I can make a distribution however large I need to, and grab from there. So now we go back to here, and we're just gonna say... So maybe for this, where are we? So in this lambda, we could make a static variable for the distribution as well. So do a static standard uniform int distribution. And I mean, that should be fine number-wise. I don't see why it wouldn't be. And so we'll do that. And then I think we're almost good. Like the example they use down here is they construct it, and we're constructing it with an RNG of Mersenne Twister, so that should work fine. And then I think you just apply it in the sample function. Where's their range call? Or sample call? Oh, this is an implementation. Okay, never mind. Here's the example. Yeah, so here's their Mersenne Twister, there's their random device that they use. Then they do a... Oh, they just called gen from that object. Cool, so I don't even need a uniform int distribution. I was looking at the implementation. The implementation makes a distribution. That makes more sense. Well, a possible implementation. Whatever they do here is their own thing, but still we need the RNG. So get RNG. So now with that, what is wrong? Object type is const, standard range is sample function. No instance of overload function operator matches the argument list. Alright, let me look at the arguments one more time. So you provide a range. Entities in range should be a range. Yes, it's a vector. Output should be, again, the output iterator, where samples get written to. Range difference is the number of samples to take. That can be just an integer, right? I presume. N is not equal to max, increment n is an int, gen. Auto from this should return, though, an MT19937. Like, it shouldn't return anything else. Result type, return... Let me see. Random device... Yeah, that should work, in theory. I'm going to build it because compiler itself usually has more detail. And we'll see if we can figure out what we're missing or did wrong. Use of an unidentified type entity. Oh, gotta forward declare it. It does exist, I promise. We're just going through the process of trying to use a new thing, so naturally, we're not 100% sure how to use it yet. Are those still the errors? Same ones? It wants me to actually include the class in monster.h. Does entity need to know about monster? Okay, it doesn't. Unless these two include monster. Then we're in trouble. I don't think they do. Okay. As long as that's the case, we can include effect or entity here safely. We just have to always make sure we don't have any circular headers going on, or we will run into trouble very quickly. Let's try that again. And then hopefully it'll spit out some template related errors so we can figure out what's going on with this guy. If there's anything wrong. Maybe I actually did it right and IntelliSense was just catching up. But IntelliSense doesn't like that. So I want to see what template compiler produces. So we'll find out in a minute. And then after this, once we have the random entity, we can, because I'm trying to see, I've been experimenting more with the views and ranges thing. So I want to see how far we can go in terms of that. So learning about standard ranges sample, apparently algorithm also has, oh, did I include the file required for, maybe I just didn't include it. Hold on. Include, I assume it's under algorithm because we're looking in algorithm. I hope that's not the reason it wasn't working. That'd be silly. There is a redefinition of spells. Different oh, this is not inline, is it? Or it's incompatible, apparently. Oh, I didn't change this, that's why. This should be a spell succeeded result. I don't know why it's not popping up, but this is what it should be. I guess we have to actually, let me see, yeah. Maybe we have to actually include monster ability in front of that because it's not in the monster ability class. When it's exposed out like this, just for the type. Okay, so now what? Call, okay, so this is what I was interested in because it will kind of tell us what the template engine was trying to do here. So it says it couldn't figure out what it was, so these are the two constructors that are possible. And let's see how it would have... We were trying to resolve it with the second one, because I think we were providing the range itself. So, associated constraints are not satisfied. The concept uniform random bit generator. Evaluate to false. Rossini twister... Oh, because it's const? Is that why? I was wondering if that was going to bite me in the butt. So, let's make it non-const. And then hopefully that resolves it. Well, IntelliSense stopped screaming about it, so that's a good sign. I guess if it's const, maybe like the internal state can't be modified with whatever the RNG is, right? Because, yeah, it's got an invocable, so it's not const. Non-const. So yeah. Template engine definitely didn't like that. Okay, so in theory, random entity chosen is now populated. So it's one entity, we are just going to extract it. I guess we can error out, we can assert that if random entity chosen... Oh, so I learned something recently, and I don't know if I want to use it, but it was just something I found earlier. I think it's just called assume. There's some like assumption thing. Okay, C++ attribute called assume specifies the given expression is assumed to always evaluate to true at a given point to allow compiler optimizations. So assume can only be assume and only what? Assume and only be applied. I assume they typoed that. I think it's can only be applied to a null statement. This statement is called an assumption. And I think it's supposed to like throw if the assumption fails. Compiler may assume. Oh no, otherwise it does undefined behavior. Okay. I thought it might have like a throw functionality built into it, because I was gonna consider using it in the future. And I mean there's contract to serve, but that's 26. We can't use 26 yet. It's not gonna work for GCC, unfortunately. Or Clang. They're not quite there yet. Looks like we have a problem with the vector pushback. No valid conversion for this. Oh, because they're entities? Wait, do I not have a... Oh, because this is const. Oops, my bad. It can't be const because we have to insert into it. But anyways, we want to say if random entity chosen.size is for some reason not equal to 1, then we're going to error out and say warning ended up with a bad number of selected elements. Because we are only expecting one element. I guess I should just put that, like, expected one element. Expected one element. Expected only one element. Blank inside container. So if we end up here, which should be impossible, then something's gone horribly wrong. So hopefully we don't end up in there. Random entity chosen dot size. Okay. From my understanding, assume is typically for value bounds checking, subsequently also giving the compiler context for optimization. Right. But we should be making that assumption anyways. Like, we can tell the compiler that yes, we assume random entity chosen is only gonna have one. So if we really wanted to at this point, we could just say, hey, you can optimize for this, right? Not that it really matters because it's just a number in this case, but it might do something, who knows, right? But yeah, we would do that. I don't know what the boolean is for. Oh, any expression. Compiler may assume GZ will return. Is this in... Wait. It's one argument but comma. It has a comma in it. Compiler may assume X would have the same value after calling H. Oh, okay. So run... They're basically running a function and seeing what the result... Well, this function will result in this. After calling H. The assumption does not cause a call to H. Oh, so it's like tying it to what the result of this would be. If called. After calling some... Okay. Okay, I see. Interesting. And I can see why that would allow the compiler to be like, okay, so if that's true, then maybe something in H can be optimized because we know the assumption will always be result in that value, right? So I can see why it would allow for optimizations like that. Anyway, that's just an interesting thing I'm gonna add there for my future self. A lot of new concepts all wrapped up right in these 5 lines of code. Pretty fun. Don't think I've seen an assume defined with a function that was defined as void before. Twist my brain. Yeah, I think it was just an example. It's like, hey, here's one way to use it. Think of other ways to use it because we showed you this is a possibility. So now that we've done that, I can actually do something to this entity. So let me grab it first of all. Entity ref, chosen entity. I'm gonna rename this to random entity chosen list because it's not actually the entity yet. And then this is the actual chosen entity. We're just gonna do random because we know it's going to be in the front, so... And there's only one element, so we can assume that it's going to be this. Does that work? Give me my entity, please. Oh. That would help, wouldn't it? Invalid of value of reference to non-cons. Must be an L value. What? Oh. Okay, but if I wanted to, I could grab... Let me just do this. It'll be easier because this actually returns it for me, which is fine. Alright, so now... Chosen entity, add buff. Get or add buff. Wait, what? Oh, this is an entity, right. Because we don't know if it's necessarily a monster or player, so we just have this, which... I guess that's fine? Interesting. Yeah, let's do that then. That's actually perfect. That way if we get... Because the behavior was gonna be, if it's gonna rebuff someone that already has it, then we just add to, or we reset the timer on the buff. But we're not necessarily giving them a new buff. So we're gonna give them a speed boost. You know what though? What if the monster has multiple speed boost buffs? We want to get the correct one, and the correct one would have to be one that has the correct, in this case, intensity. So 20%. So this could have multiple buffs of the same type. Like, what I really want to do is let's implement get buffs, and we're looking for any speed up buffs, and then we're going to filter it out. So that's what we're going to do next. Because the monster might have multiple speed boost buffs. There's no rule saying you only can have one of one buff. So I already have it implemented in the monster and player classes. I just have to go back to entity and connect those together. So this is going to return... Let me just go to monster, get buffs. And we're just going to copy this prototype. And this we get buffs, like so. And then in here, we'll implement it. So both should return and work the same way. So I'm just going to use our call class function macro to do that for us. It's going to be get buffs, buff type buff. And that should be all we would have to do. And it looks like it resolves correctly, so we're happy there. So now we can actually use it over here. So let's get our buffs and filter it out for... So we'll filter it, and then if there's still multiple, we'll only select one. So we'll basically do a sample, not even a sample, just get whatever's the first one. Take one. So if we're taking one, then we have to convert that to, I guess, a single entity. I don't know if that's allowed, but I'm going to try it. If not, we'll just convert it to a range. Because it's like standard range is 2. I don't know if it'll convert to like a single object. But we'll give it a shot and see what happens. So, or not entity. Speed boost buff. Now there's a chance that the entity doesn't even have the buff. So if that happens, take will return nothing. So I guess that's why it would return... It can't possibly return a non-vector instance, because it might not even have anything. So speed boost buff list, filtered list. Alright. Get buff speed boost, standard, views, filter. Let's filter by... So we're looking for anything that matches the move speed buff duration, which comes from the correct property. So it's the speed up boost amount property right here, found in monster strategy dot skeleton space mage. So return if it matches that value. So monster strategy dot skeleton space mage dot speed up boost amount. And we're gonna grab that as a float, which we then have to convert to a, because it's a percentage, so we'll divide it by 100. And then after that, I think I have an underscore percent in here. I haven't used this in a minute, but I might have a percent in here. I do, surprisingly. Oh, never mind, I don't. I lied. It looked like I did, but I didn't. So anyways, divide this by 100, and then see if that's equal to any of the intensities of the current buff that we're looking at. So this should return a const buff ref of a buff, and see if it's equal to buff dot intensity. And if it is, that's going to be one of the allowed buffs to be modified. I guess we're also looking for an original duration that it matches. So we can do two conditions here. So we can say, and the duration speed up boost duration is equal to buff, I think it's called like original lifetime or original duration. So the original duration has to match, and the intensity, the correct intensity has to match for that buff to be identified as the correct buff. Alternatively, and this might actually be way simpler, right? Make a buff type that only speed up uses. I kind of like that better, right? It's a little cleaner. It avoids us having to do a lot of extra filtering. And what if we change the rules eventually? Then we have to modify all this mess, right? So to make it cleaner, I think it would be smarter, because this is like a specialized buff, to give it its own enum. So we'll do a speed up. It sounds like speed boost, but speed up. Speed up, let's call it spell buff. That way we know it's specifically for the spell. Because I was gonna write a comment, but I'm like, I could probably just mention what it really means in there. So the speed up spell buff. Now, because it modifies move speed, we're now gonna have to go into monster and go under the get move speed multiplier function. And we're gonna have to add this buff as a modifier for our movement speed. So in here, we're gonna say speed up spell buff will also increase your movement speed by the intensity of that buff multiplied by your original movement speed. I feel like I have a get buffs that accepts a vector. Am I wrong about that? There is an overload here. So I do, and I think you'll match anything in that vector. Let me just confirm that. Get buffs given a vector of buff types. Filter, find inside by type. Okay, yes. So in theory, because we have all these different buffs all in here with the same exact math performed, I could put these all into one vector. So any of these that would affect speed... Oh wait, some of these subtract and some add though. Some are debuffs. So it's like these two are debuffs, they go together. So I'm actually going to rename this now to be debuff. That way I know this is specifically debuffs that affect move speed. And then here, these are all the ones that increase your movement speed. So these can all be put together as well to form another vector of buff types. And that just condenses it down significantly. So I like that. And now we go back to here, and instead of doing all this, we actually just look for that particular buff type, because we know it will match. It's straight from the spell. We're telling it to be straight from the spell. So now, let's look for... we don't really have to filter it anymore. We'll just assume every buff of this type is that buff. So we'll just get the first instance of this buff. So let's get a buff reference to get buff of type speed up spell buff. Now it's an optional, so if it doesn't exist, we'll say value or and create one. Wait, but we have get or add buff. Let's use that function instead. It basically does the same thing as what we want to do here. So get or add buff, which returns a guaranteed buff ref. And we provide the initial buff duration and buff intensity here for the new buff if it needs to create it. And in those cases, we're just respecting the config. So we do, once again, it's config float speed up boost durations first. So config float speed up boost, or speed up, yeah, boost duration, and follow that up with speed up boost amount. And we have to divide this one by 100. Oops, I am forgetting to close this macro. Divide that by 100. And that should be the intensity of the buff applied if it doesn't have one already. So this is a speed boost buff now. And we are now going to refresh it because we are buffing it. So speed boost buff dot... Hello? Did I typo it, or is it just being dumb? Oh. Or I did that. Looks like I have... That's the close of... That closes that. Then I need a parenthesis. Then I have an extra brace? I do. Okay. So speed boost buff. We're gonna say the lifetime is now equal to the original duration. We're basically gonna refresh the buff in case it already existed, or just make sure it's back to max. And then we'll spawn particles just around the entity we're buffing. 100 might be a bit too much, maybe like 30. And we want to specifically spawn those little like plus particles. So we'll do game add effect, standard, make unique, and we'll just do a generic effect. Position, so we'll randomly choose, like, it'll be a small circle around the monster we've chosen to buff. So let's get a random radius around a circle around this target. So from the chosen entity, let's get a VF2D. This will be a polar random coord. So since it's polar coordinates, we need to provide a, I think it's angle then magnitude. I always forget the order. Let me double check. Let's look at dot polar. Is it not polar? I know there's Cartesian. What? Am I being silly? Hold on. Oh, there it is. So yeah, oh, it's magnitude and angle. Okay, I always get it backwards. So provide the magnitude. The magnitude is random. The util random range up to a maximum of, let's say, 1 tile away. So we'll do up to 24. 0 to 24. And then for the, so this is the angle. So the angle will be a random angle between 0 and 360 degrees. And since it's degrees and it wants radians, we'll do dec2 rad. And then now that we have our polar random chord, we'll convert it to Cartesian chords and add it to the position of the monster. So we have our chosen entity dot pause, and then we'll do add polar random chord converted to Cartesian coordinates. And then we have the lifetime of this, which will be, let's do a little randomness between like 0 and 3 seconds. With a fade out, that's pretty long, maybe like 1 second long. This will be, I think we're doing circle.png. I think it's called circle. It's either circle or dot. Yeah, it's circle.png, 3x3 image. Basically, it's a cross. This is the chosen entity's upper level flag. On upper level. Oh, this is an entity though, so we don't have that, do we? I guess we have to add that. What if the second random angle is less than 24? 24? Oh, this is magnitude, not angle. If it's less than 24, then it will just be less than 24, I guess. My more favorite attribute is likely and unlikely. Oh, yeah. I use that in a couple places. Usually unlikely more to just hint, hey, if you're going to optimize, this is probably not going to be hit very often. I wonder if I have one here. Or the opposite, right? I'm like, hey, this is likely to happen, so even though I put an if statement there, you're probably running this. Right? So yeah, I do like using that. There's no unlikelies in this file, but I use them every once in a while. Yeah, no worries. There's never a stupid question. I never want people to think there is. Feel free to ask. If anything, it just helps me clarify what's going on as well, right? So, no harm in asking. So we'll add an on upper level. Both monsters and players have this, so this is a pretty easy add. That's definitely not what we need though. So we'll replace this with entity on upper level. I like that we are utilizing this a little bit more though, because it's just nice that we are kind of adding more functionality to this entity class, which brings these two pointers together. It's been a long time coming, I think. I just haven't really had the opportunity to use this entity system very well yet. So the size of these, I do want it a little random. So we'll create a random scalar that's between, let's do 0.5 to 1. Okay, so let's think. These are 3 by 3. We don't want them to be too big. Just like little particles that might get up to... So this is like in-game size if we do 1. Or I think it's 4. No, it's 4. So this is in-game size. This would be 2. So I think that's like the max I would want. Let's just do like... Let's do like 1.75. I think that's fine. So a random value between there and there, it's a scalar. So we'll multiply that to a VF2D of 1, 1. And the multiply operator for VF2D will apply it to both elements when multiplied by a scalar. So far so good. Then we have the fade out. So I want the fade out to be kind of long, 1 second long. The speed. So I want them to rise up into the sky. So we'll do anywhere. So no horizontal movement, but we'll do some vertical movement between... Let's say 0 to, well, not let's do like half, no, let's do a little faster. Let's do 3 pixels per second to like 10 pixels per second. And then the color, I want them to be between like white and green. So we can pixel linearly interpolate between a couple colors starting from white going down to green. So I think this is a static function. Oh, maybe not. I think we interpolate from one color to another. So we do like white dot... Huh, I could have sworn there was one. Oh, you know what? I think it's just a an OLC function. I think it's just called pixel lerp. There we go. So pixel lerp. Pixel 1 is white to green, which is just 255 or 02550, and we'll do a T between 0 and 1. I think that's what default random is. No, it's an integer random. There is a float random, I think. It says there's one overload. Oh, that's just the value. So yeah, 0 to 1. I'll just put 1 there. And then we have the rotation. We'll just randomly rotate it between 0 and 2 pi. 2 times pi. And then we have rotation speed. I don't think we'll rotate them past their initial rotation. Additive blending, let's leave it off. But now that I think about it, I do want some transparency in there. So let's go back here and let's do versions of these that have transparency. So white is 255, 255, 255. And then let's make it anywhere from 128 half transparent to fully transparent. I think that should be fine. And then same for green. 0 to 55, 0. We do that 30 times in a row. Just spawn them. And that should be that. Let's go ahead and try it out. I'm gonna need to make a monster, a lightning mage monster, because it doesn't exist yet. So let's just make a placeholder sprite for it for now, because I don't have the actual sprites for it. I really do have to get on that, ask my pixel artist to make those. But yeah. We've just been using these sheets and changing the color, so I'll still do the same here. Chroma. Let's go green. Oh, this is indexed, isn't it? I want RGB. I'll just do yellow for now. I think yellow's fine. Okay. Export that as skeleton lightning mage. I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. Yeah. I just noticed the attribute or the distinguishing characteristic of each one is mentioned in the doc as well. So a red burning wand, a blue glowing staff, and a yellow glowing orb. So I have to make sure I mention that to my pixel artist. Just a little detail I noticed. I'm like, oh, that's good to know. Okay. So I added those images. I need to add them to the game. So we need to now edit the monster tile set. So let me do that. Assets, maps, monster presets, or tileset.png. We'll just throw in that one. We typically use the left-facing sprite. Why can't I do anything? I am in subtract from current selection mode for some reason. Okay. And these are, what are these, like 32 by 32? Okay. Let me adjust the grid real quick, because this is confusing. And we want this one. Go ahead and throw them in here. That is not right. I think each of these, I forget what the size of each of these is supposed to be. I think it's 48 by 48. Yeah, okay. That's right. So this is the bounding box of this one. So I did it right. Okay. So now that I did that, we need to go to the monster presets map and add that in. Okay. And I'll go to the monster tile set. And we'll throw one of these in there. Set it to have... Oh. I don't know why it's being weird. Like, it's not zooming in where my cursor is. It's zooming into, like, the upper left corner. That's kind of bizarre. So this is a skeleton lightning mage. Again, just a placeholder graphic. Monster class. And size is supposed to be 90% like the others, so that's... Wait, did I not resize the other ones? Where are they? I don't even see them. Yeah, I literally don't see them. I don't know where they are. Huh. Where are they? That's weird. Well, let me throw one in then, because I know they exist. Where'd it go? I'm so confused. Am I just being silly? Oh. It's like all the way over here for some reason. Okay, anyway. These are... I thought I had a size... Yeah, I have a size 9% on them. They should be smaller than this. I need to modify them. Fire Mage I did correct. 43.2 pixels. I just like to make them the same size as they would appear in game in the editor. That way it's a little more clear like what we're gonna be seeing personally. And then we don't touch that. So since I modified it, let me resave the skeleton frostmage template. Let me detach from a template and then save as a template. Skeleton Frost Mage, and then we'll save this new one as a template. That's Skeleton Lightning Mage. And now that it exists, we can add it to our new map, or our test map we've been testing on. Add our spawner, right here. Get rid of that. Add in this one. Let's put you right there for now. Set your spawner correctly. Doesn't help that this guy is like transparent. Okay. And then now that we've done that, we can make an entry for them inside of monsters.txt. So this is Skeleton Lightning Mage. And apparently the health is supposed to be 600. Attack is supposed to be 44. Move speed is 80, size is 90, XP is 49. Okay. And then abilities are speed up. Cost 20 mana, 15% chance per second. Does not have a cast time. And then we have Thunder Orb. Thunder. 40 mana. 25% chance. 0 second cast time. Strategy will also be Skeleton Mage. Sheet frame size is correct. Animations are set. Cool. We'll just leave everything else be for now. So we're pretty much... yeah, I think I hit build by accident. I wasn't really ready for that. I think that's everything we need for the monster to be active in the game. So we can try running this and seeing speed up in action. Now, it's not going to apply it unless there's a non-mage monster. So I'm going to go ahead and add, like, I don't know, this crab. Let's add a crab. So I add the crab. And then technically, if it's within range of the lightning mage, it will buff the crab, in theory. So we'll try it out and see what happens. Because the crab should be a non-mage, non-boss monster. Looks like we have more errors to deal with. Debuff references must be initialized. Oh. That is the wrong syntax for that. And then what? I'm missing another parenthesis. So I just didn't clean out that syntax error. Cool. Just kind of missed it. And then it looks like we have an error with some element in a function call. Oh, narrowing conversion. Right. So these are floats. We'll have to convert them to uint 8t's. I think that's it. Static function get RNG declared but not defined. Ah, yes. Let's go do that real quick. I'm just gonna do it inline. I think that's fine. Wait. It isn't declared or defined? It's in namespace OLC util. So that should work, right? I don't see why it wouldn't. We're already in namespace OLC, so we put util get RNG. This is defined. It says static function declared but not defined. Declared but not defined. Static. Oh, yeah, it's not a member function. Okay. Wait, does that matter? That does matter. It's just a static... So it's a global function, is what I'm trying to say. Static is just not a thing. Yeah, this isn't a class. Okay. I'm understanding now. It's not like a member of a class. Basically, this would have been meant like a class well, this would have been with static something else. I don't even know what that would mean in a global namespace context. I don't think that's... Static in a non-class. What could that possibly mean? Inside a class definition, it declares members not bound to class instances. Outside a class definition, see storage duration. Storage duration is the property of an object that defines minimum potential lifetime. Storage duration is determined by the construct used and is one of the following. So you have static, thread, automatic, and dynamic. Static, thread, and automatic are associated with objects introduced by declarations and with temporary objects. Dynamic is associated with objects created by a new expression or with implicitly created objects. Variable declaration, non-parameter, non-member variable declarations can appear in the decal specifier sequences of... Anonymous unions can also be declared with static. A variable satisfying all following conditions has static storage duration. It belongs to a namespace. It does not have thread storage duration. The storage for these entities lasts for the duration of the program. Linkage. I don't know what this means for not being able to compile it earlier. Monster ability must return a value. Oh. Oops. We'll just say spell failed right now. And now, looks like we're compiled, so we can try this real quick. Hopefully. Soon. One day. Attribute assume is not recognized in monster ability line 43. Line 43. Not recognized apparently. Interesting. Good to know. Oh, we have to delete the asset pack because it needs to recreate it with the new asset we added. That's what I forgot to do. So there's our game pack, just delete it, and then it will add Skeleton Lightning Mage to that. Well, in this case, it'll add everything to that. Also, where'd the PowerShell go? I thought we fixed this yesterday. There was supposed to be like a PowerShell window with the debug log open. It's just gone. View terminal. Like we had this open in, I guess I'll put on the side here, but it was open here before and then it just kind of stopped existing or something. Okay, anyway. Let's see if this does anything. I guess we would get like an appropriate like sound effect for it too. But let's see if this works. I think it should. I think I would also like to add a little a different color for monsters affected by it. That would be nice. So we'll see. We'll see about that. I don't know where the crab went. What are you doing, buddy? Oh, there we go. Okay, so yeah, it is definitely faster now. Oh, I was expecting the particles to go up, not down. So I did that backwards, apparently. What a silly little guy. But yeah, it's being buffed. Ow. Alright, cool. Silly little guy. Alright, so anyway, let's go back here. So we want them to go up, not down. I don't know why it's inverted. Oh, because I did do positive, didn't I? Where was it? Between 3 and 10? Let me just do a negative sign there. Everything else was fine. I'm a little stumped on why your free function is giving you issues when you static it. Yeah, I don't get it. I'm like, that's curious. So apparently this doesn't do anything. I think maybe it's because I'm doing... Like, maybe it only works for an actual variable. So, like, if I stored the size and then I said, assume that size, but I don't think it works for evaluating size, unless maybe it's const expression. Or maybe it's const eval. Maybe, I'm not sure. Because it is const expression. But who knows? That was the only thing I wanted to change. So that's basically implemented. It looked like it worked fine. I just wanted to make it so that it glowed. So I'm going to go to the monster draw function real quick. And we're just going to add a glow for that specific buff type. Probably the same one as having a speed up, which is not in this list. So let's go ahead and add that. Also, we do have a has buff function now. So technically I can get rid of this and use the actual hasbuff function. It should function the same way, it's just we don't need a lambda anymore. And this would be what? The speed up spell buff. I want it lower priority. Usually debuffs have priority for blending the color over buffs. And then let's make it so it's... I think this is the oscillation speed. Yeah. Let's do it pretty fast. Let's do like 0.2. Going between white and green. Maybe like a light green though. So maybe like blend it at like 192, 255, 192. And the lerp cut amount should be 1, just all the way to full, all the way back. So yeah, that should be fine. I'm trying to think what else. We added another buff recently that I wanted to address. Was it in here too? Oh yeah, the blizzard slowdown for specifically the player. So let's go to Adventures in Listoria and let's go to Render Player. And in here, let's see. So again, we have get buffs, but now we have a has buff function. So once again, we can do the same thing. We can replace all these with has buff. And in fact, I don't even need to do this anymore, or these. I can replace them with has buff, except for this one. That one's a special case, but yeah. All these, I'm gonna have to replace with the names of these guys. So let me see. We have adrenaline rush buffs, move speed buffs, ink slowdown buff, curse debuff, hasten buff. And then we can multi-select these guys, copy them, go back over here, say if has buff, buff type. Oh, that is not what I was expecting. Oh, because there's 6. Only change these guys. There we go. So if has buff, like so. This one can stay the same. Attack buffs dot size is greater than 0. So I can delete all those now, except for damage reduction buffs. What uses that, I wonder? Seems I've messed this up somehow. So something else uses this? I'm confused. Yes, down here. So we can replace that with damage reduction. So has buff. Damage reduction. As I understand it, if you assume with a function return value, the assumed context will be under a presumption of this continue will be true. As you read earlier, if it's not true, it's considered undefined, which considering assume is a compiler optimization, wouldn't give you an issue at runtime. Yeah, that's fair. So I can get rid of this line, and then we have the display coin symbol, which I'm just going to change to has buff. I think that's it. Oh, we actually use the 0th element from these. Do I want to just say get buff from here, or do I want to assign them in here? Because we do have get buff, which now returns an optional, so if we need to actually reference it, we can just assign it as well, which I kind of like. So these three need it, so we can say auto buff is going to be get buff. And then since it's an optional, the if statement condition will check if buff is true. And if it is, then we can do this. And that should work out. Did this not work? Oh, I see. I just have to... I typed the wrong thing here. Or I have to replace it, more like. Okay. That looks good to me. This condition... This continue... Oh, yeah, this condition will be true. Yes, that makes sense. So according to my game designer, they said only the skeleton lightning mages cannot buff each other. They can buff any other mages. So I need to go back to monster ability now that we have confirmation on how that works and say, so we don't need an is mage function, unfortunately, but I could adjust it. So I'm gonna rename it because it's now not about being a mage, it's now about is skeleton lightning mage. And then I will just apply that condition. But that's what I meant, like making it a condition like this made it very easy for me to actually modify what I wanted to return. So let's go return false here because the player is definitely not one of those. And for the monster, we're gonna check exactly if the monster's name matches. And I think these are different from each other. Wait, why would the display name be different from the... Do we have like certain display names? Oh, we do. Right, because sometimes internally the names just end up being something else. So we do have a display name. Okay. So in that case, let's just use the internal name because that will likely never change. So we're going to use get name. is equal to skeleton lightning mage. Cool. I would even go as far as to say that now that we have a dependency on this name, if skeleton lightning mage gets changed, then we need to error out. So that's going to be an assert we do very early on in the game loading process. So let's go back here. Let's go to our, I think it's called test. Yeah, let's test for that now. So I actually don't have it. I have literally like one test in here, but I do other tests, just not in this class. I could, but I've kind of abandoned it. I didn't really like how I did it. But I will go under initialize. Initialize. I was hoping for monsters, but I think that's actually under monster data. So let's actually check it under the monster data initialize class. So after we've read everything in, which is this loop right here, we can do some validation checks. So we'll just say if, because now we're dependent on it. Our code has this entry in there and is expecting that name. So if it doesn't exist anymore, or if it gets changed, we need to notify ourselves and actually crash the game. So I know I have to fix some code that was related to that. So we're gonna see if monster data, if not, monster data contains skeleton lightning mage anymore, because if it doesn't, we have to change the name. Then we will error out. Warning, skeleton lightning mage is missing and is currently hard-coded in entity.cpp, or entity is skeleton lightning mage. Another way I could do this, instead of relying on a string like this, is add a property and just check for properties, like for monster strategies. That is another way I could go about this. So I'm trying to think which I prefer. Like, I could just literally sit in here and say, like for example, we go in here and we'd say, is skeleton lightning mage? And we'd set it to false. And then I even think the property can have a question mark. I'm pretty sure we parse that. So I'm actually gonna put that. And then in here, we would just override it. We would just say, is skeleton lightning mage is true. I think I like this better because now, if for some reason we decide to change the name of a skeleton lightning mage, we can still keep this initial property here and just modify the property name in the future. I think I like this a little better. So override property from strategy. Okay, so we'll do it that way. And then I can just get rid of what I just added here because it won't be necessary. I think that was under here. Yeah. That way I don't have to hard code it. And I'm just checking for a hard-coded property, which I'm much less likely to edit, or I will notice and then say, oh, okay, I remember, I have to go back and change this. So, yeah. Or I'll be like, why do I need this? And then I'll look it up and go through all this again. That's probably what's going to happen in the far future if we have to revisit this. So instead of doing this now, we're actually just going to get the float. Right, not float, it's a boolean. So we'll get the bool. Oh wait, that's an attribute. We need config, which requires... I would need underscore... Actually, let me see. Is it in here? Underscore get... I don't know how we grab these. Hold on. I forget sometimes. Since I have config, we have... Well, not even these. I'm looking for the config, like, float macro. Oh, this'll work. Yeah, I kind of forgot how this... I think it's like get... Oh, it's under strategy. And you need the monster, you need the parameter, and you need the strategy. Which we do have. We have all those values. So we can use that. I just have to include monster strategy helpers.h. Monster strategy helpers. And then back in here, we can grab that config value wherever this is supposed to be. So now we just say config boolean. I don't think we've ever used config bool. It doesn't even exist. Should I add it? I guess I should add it because it is a boolean and we have a get bool in our config. So the fact it doesn't exist means I've just never needed it yet. So let me add it. We'll go implement that. Oh, I haven't been in this code in a long time. Alright, so get bool. Again, we do have a... We do have a get bool property for the config file already. So reading it should be very trivial. And then we just have to define this and we're good. I think it's under monster strategy .h. Monster.h. Monster. And then add that here, get bool. Cool. And that should be it. This returns a boolean. Since you mentioned const expression, reminds me of a feature I like using, which is assert. It's compile optimization versus... Right, it's like a debug check. It will... I think it's just supposed to throw. But if you use const expression with an assert, if the const expression is evaluated at compile time, assert can constant fold the condition if it's determinable at compile time. Otherwise, they will be evaluated. Oh, so you get like a compile time assert? Static assert exists to ensure S. Oh, cool. That's interesting. So that would be more like the, hey, make sure this would evaluate before your program even starts running. That's interesting. Okay, so now we have config bool. This will get the monster pointer, but we need the monster, I think, ref. So we have to dereference that. Or use indirection, I guess. And then next is the... Wait, do I even have config bool, or did I just make get bool? Where is strategy helpers? I don't think I made the actual get bool. Oh, I did. Okay. So yeah, it's monster reference, the parameter name itself. Oh wait, I would be using underscore get bool, or alternatively, I specified the parameters here and use config bool. I think I would rather use monster strategy get bool here. Only because I don't want to create all these variables on top of this. I just want it all to sit in this one line. There's that. There's the parameter, which is going to be is skeleton lightning mage question mark. And then strategy is the monster strategy. Get strategy name. Okay. So that's one way to do it without, in case we ever change the skeleton lightning mage's name, we won't depend on that. Okay. I think everything is good to go now. So all of that really was to make sure that skeleton lightning mages only buffed things that were not skeleton lightning mages. So in theory now, we should be able to put back like a skeleton frost mage and it could buff that. But if we had two skeleton lightning mages, they should not be able to buff each other. So let's actually do that. Let's put two of you here. They would both be buffing the crab constantly, but never themselves. Because they should be considered skeleton lightning mages. I think after this we can do a commit, and then we could take a look at Thunder Orb. Because for all intents and purposes, speed up is done. Oh, I was gonna add a slowdown like effect for the player for that frost ground ability. Yeah, let me look at that real quick. So that's in Adventures in Lestoria.cpp. Before we got sidetracked, looking at render player. Oh, I was also like refactoring some of those things because I'm like, it just, yeah, I was refactoring a lot of these like has buff things with new functions we now have. But I need to do, ooh, what is going on here? Get buff is not found. Really? I never made it? I swear I did. Oh, it's supposed to be for the player, not for this class. Here. Player. Get buff. Or has buff. That's my fault. Realistically, the player's render function should be in its own thing, just I guess I didn't take the opportunity to refactor it over there. It's got some weird dependencies too, but right now render player is inside the main game class's draw function, which is not a big deal, just a decision I made long ago. Oh, you know what? I think I know why. Because we have to draw the reflection of the player, so knowing how to draw the player is important for this game class, because that's to draw it flipped. Tote alive? What was I trying to do there? Total time alive. How did we... Oh, I must have dragged some of this down here somehow. Wow, I really messed that up, didn't I? I was probably trying to do like multi-line editing. That's fun. This doesn't exist. Oh, because it's an optional, so we have to dereference it to get it. So it's gonna look like this. Wait, does that work? Does dereference have... So dot resolves and then dereference or indirect... What? I was not expecting that to work, but let me look. So member access is first, then indirection is next, and then finally multiplication, obviously. So I guess I just have to not look at that and be confused with like Python or something where it's like, oh, that's an exponent. That's funny. Okay, anyway. I think there's one more. There is one more. It's down here. Oh, now it's complaining. Okay, let me see. Intelligence, please. Total time alive is not a member of standard optional buff. Oh, because member access is before indirection. Okay, yes. So we do have to put parentheses. Yeah, that means we are forced to put parentheses. Okay. Like that. And that should be happy. Wait, I did the same thing. We have to do indirection first, then the dot. Okay. So indirection first, then dot. Okay, that should be good now. It's really cloudy today, so lighting's being funny. Alright, that compiled. So that's nice. So we can just take a look at that real quick. So they should only be buffing the crab. They shouldn't be buffing each other. Oh, what? Monster crab trying to read non-existing float property. Is skeleton mage 0 for strategy crab? What? Huh? Eh? Let me look at call stack here. How did we get here? Also, I think I want call stack to be over here from now on. Or maybe over here? No, we'll do over here. I've been thinking about putting call stack over there lately. Anyway, let's go standard ranges to filter view of an entity. Oh, am I doing it on the wrong monster? I think I was. That's my bad. So let me go back to the lambda and yeah, because what's gonna happen is it's gonna say, is this monster not a skeleton mage? Yeah, because it doesn't have that property, right? So if it doesn't even have that property, we have to return false. So we have to check if that property even exists in the first place. I guess I would have to check inside of monster. No, in just raw data. That's where I would have to check it. It would be in here under get monster strategy dot monster strategy name dot is skeleton mage. So like this would be the key we're interested in. I guess we could search for it too. I don't know if it's... Is it has property? Does it accept dot syntax? I assume it does dot syntax. I think I ask this every time. I probably should write in the comments if it does or not, because I always forget. But anyways, we'll try that. So we'll say if has property, or that way if this fails, it exits early. But then we have an or statement over here for the other check. If that check is has property, no, that means it will check both if it fails. So it's more like if has property and get bool. Yeah, both conditions have to be satisfied for this to work. And this would be get monster pointer, get strategy name. Okay. Something's not connecting here. Maybe it's just being slow. But yeah. Let me go look real quick that this accepts dot. Okay, it does accept dot syntax. I can see it right in the code, the parsing code. So let me go to... So get property. I'm going to put that same comment in has property. Access a data file via convenient name. root.node.something.property. Just so in the future, when I ask that question, does it accept the dot syntax? It's actually in the comments now. If it'll pop up, please. Visual Studio, any day? No? Oh, we're in... I forgot, we're in debug mode. Anyway. Yeah. Just in case I forget again, too many arguments in function call? What? How? I don't understand what that... Oh, I didn't put standard format. In my head, I'm like, I'm writing standard format here. And I didn't actually do it. Okay, that makes more sense. So you aren't a skeleton mage if you don't even have this property. If you do have this property, check if it's actually true or not. So that makes sense and that works. Just keep it right there. Okay, this will probably be a full recompile, so I will be right back. I need a restroom break. See you in a minute. All right. So we are back. We're just gonna check up and make sure everything's good here. So basically, just see if the crab gets buffed or not. Which it should, and they shouldn't buff each other. That's like the big thing we're seeing. So crab got buffed. You can see we have the like speed up glow now. I actually don't think I wanted to go to black. I kind of was expecting it to go to white, so I should have done like half a lerp cut instead of full. That probably would have made more sense. Also, I think the range is off. Even though I did it in config pixels, I think I did it wrong. Because, like, they're getting buffed from here, and how many units is that? Way more than 400, right? So, I think that is too much. I don't think the range is quite working, so let me see. So, get targets in range of speed up radius. Config pixels is supposed to convert 100... Converts unit distance to pixels. So every 100 units is 24 pixels. So what value is it getting? It should be getting 400. And then converting that to pixels is like what? Divide by 24, you get... Or multiply 24 by 4, and you get like 12 or something. So... Right now, math. 4 times 24, 96. So, it should be 96 pixels. Why is it not? Like, clearly that monster was way past 96 pixels in distance. Is this function not returning right? The radius is being passed in here. And so in range is determined by checking if two circles overlap via the radius of the circle at given position and the outer edge of a circle given its size multiplier times 12. Also, thanks for the follow, Hodor. So range-wise, like, code-wise, I think that checks out, but the distance calculation seems a little strange. So I'm tempted to debug it real quick. So what I want to do is just... Let's see about... Trying to get the crab more than 4 units away from them. I don't know, if I counted it, it was pretty close, right? Maybe a little... longer than 4 units tile-wise, but then I'm seeing here we actually account for like a bounding area around the monster, like from edge to edge, because 2 circles, as long as their edges are overlapping, that counts. Monsters aren't just like a single dot, they are an entire circle, so maybe that actually would accommodate for it. So we're just trying to see if that actually checks out, and nothing weird is happening. As long as the correct values are being passed in, I pretty much trust it, because this function is used to hurt a lot of monsters that have, like, for AoE related abilities. So I kind of already know that this function does work distance-wise. And I think we even have a unit test for it, but I just want to make sure the correct value gets passed in, because that's more important. If the wrong value gets passed in, then yeah, we gotta work on that. Where the expected value here should be a radius of 96. So we're gonna look for that. And hope for the best. We're also going to be ending the coding stream a little earlier today than usual, but we still have some time to code, so let's see if we can finish up the Thunder Orb ability today. I hope we can. It would be nice to have all the spellcasters of the game done. At least, as far as I know, the spellcasters of the game done. That would be nice. And I know I keep saying it, but I really do need to get on our pixel artist about making those pixel art graphics for our chapter 4 monsters, because the AI for them is basically almost done. And of course I'll need the boss sprites as well. So let's just take a look here. We know the hurt function is going to check in here because it's going to look for monster collisions, like nearby monsters. So we're going to see about that actually, or that function should be what we're checking for. So we'll see that here. So should be checking in a moment here once they've gained some mana. Okay. So the radius is 96, as we expected. So as long as that value is holding true, then we know that the calculation is correct. I guess I'm just not thinking about how large that actually is. It's pretty large. It's more than half a screen. So I guess I was just a little suspicious, but in reality it checks out. Just things to make sure of, right? So we're about ready to do a git commit here, since we've just implemented a new feature. Made quite a few significant changes, so let's address them real quick. Just to do a quick peek through our source files again to get... so we refactored the player buffs a little bit. Refactored player buff rendering code. We also added... Actually, did we... I still didn't do the thing I originally wanted to do, did I? Let's do that real quick, actually. So, I was too into fixing these buffs things, I actually forgot. So, if the player gets slowed down by that blizzard attack, I want, like, it to pulsate, like, bluish a little bit. Like, to indicate that slowdown, like between black and like very dark blue or so, or maybe light blue, but like definitely not normal color. And I also just remembered I wanted the spell buff, the speed up spell buff, not actually to go down to all the way black. So I'm gonna do 0.5 here, because what this last value does is it determines how far down to 0 you want to bring these values. So yeah, 0.5 means half the color is always active and the other half linearly oscillates. So by default, monsters are blended white, right? So if we're blending to another color, then it's going to try to oscillate all the way down from 255 to 0. Like each of these values is going to go like 192 to 0, 255 to 0, 192 to 0 when we choose these blends. So if you only do half, it only go from 255 to 128, 192 to 96. So it only go half as far, which means it won't go completely dark on us. I might even go a little more, maybe like 0.6 or something. It's just an interesting way to handle it. It's like a lerp blending function, essentially. Because what I was doing was I was doing these like sine waves, right, over and over, and then I'm like, let me just put them in a generalized like function I can use to oscillate between these better. And so that's what I did. So yeah, it works out that way. Okay. So once again, let's do all this for the player, where we have a slowdown. So we already have ink slowdown, so that's helpful. We'll kind of do the same system, but this one's going to just be, I guess slowdown in general. Like, we don't have a specific one for the ice, so it's more like just general slowdown. Which I guess I'm fine with. No, I want it to be targeted. I want it specifically for that freeze ground effect. So we applied slowdown originally. I actually want to change that now. So instead of using slowdown, we're gonna call it freeze ground slowdown. We just have to make sure that we adjust that in every location where we referenced it so that we properly handle that. Which looks like it's these two locations that reference it. And then now we're gonna go over to the buff type enum and add that to our list. And then finally, we go back to our player and we say, okay, freeze ground slow down. You are going to oscillate between these certain colors. So this is the red, that's the green, that's the blue. I wanted to oscillate between the blue the most, but these are supposed to be light. So the colors we're oscillating from should remain rather light. I'm gonna say we stick to 192 for these two. And then 255 up and down for the blue. So actually it'll be 250, it'll be all of these oscillating up and down evenly, just at different initial values. I don't know about doing 6 times though. That would mean 6 times per second because the sine wave would oscillate that fast. Maybe more like 3 or something. Okay, so we'll try something like that. I would like to see what that looks like real quick, so let's go into tiled and let's add a skeleton frost mage, maybe 2, so we have a higher chance of seeing it. And let's see it, let's see the buff oscillation in action, including the updated speed buff. That way we just make sure graphically this is what we want, we're happy with it, and we go from there. And then if that's all good, let's just keep working on the commit message. So we added the freeze ground slowdown oscillation effect. And then for monsters, we also, so broadly speaking, we implemented speed up spell, changed monster ability lambda to return success or failure. Spell state, spellcast state. I think that's in general pretty much what we did. And of course we created the skeleton lightning mage. Skeleton lightning mage monster setup. I believe that's all we accomplished. So we're just waiting for the build the linker to finish up here. And we'll take a look at that code. Excellent. So let's have a quick peek. We can see the map caching system in action. Every time I change the map at all, it recaches it at the beginning of the game. We love to see it. Okay, so lots of monsters, fun. He's actually just bumping into that guy over and over. So yeah, we can see the oscillation effect happening here for the player. It doesn't slow down though, so that's what we forgot. It needs to slow down. Why do we crash? Trying to read non-existent flow property for strategy skeleton mage. Oh, interesting. So let's see what's going on there, because this monster actually has the property but still crashing, right? So that's kind of weird. So again, we're checking is Skeleton Mage getting this boolean. Strategy Skeleton Mage. Property is... So the property is blank. Why is it blank? Because of this? Get strategy name isn't populated? That can't be right. I mean, the only way we have those values is from that. Did it mess up? Is get... What does get strategy name return? Return strategy. Skeleton Mage. So we know for a fact that is correct. I don't know why it wouldn't be. So where are we? We're in Monster Strategy Get Bull. Okay, let's look at the monster. Skeleton... Oh, Skeleton Lightning Mage. Wait, hold on. Strategy has property. So the param, like I said, the param is blank for whatever reason. That's weird. Let me back up. Was it ever populated? I guess we would have to see what this... What about the has property call? Oh, that didn't even happen yet. It's just the get bull call leading to the has property call, right? Wait, what? Hold on. If we're at underscore get bull, we're over here. We've already confirmed this does have it. So this is oh. Oops. I did put blank in there. I think my intention was to write it and then I forgot. So the param is Skeleton Mage. Like, we were getting to that point and I just forgot. Okay. Makes more sense. Try that again. Silly little mistakes. Isn't programming great? Just making all sorts of silly mistakes every once in a while, right? Ah, gotta love it. The joys of programming. Alrighty. Let's take a look and see if everything will actually function, not crash, and we'll be happy. So that got buffed, that's fine. You can see the green glowing. It now doesn't go fully dark, which is exactly what we're looking for. Are you even programming without silly mistakes? You're right. Okay, so we still didn't add the slowdown. So right now, this buff doesn't affect our speed. So we need to do that. Because we didn't add it in player.cpp. And we can do something very similar to what we did for Monster when we go to the get move speed multiplier function. We can combine all the debuffs and all the buffs together. So these three are debuffs that affect the player movement speed. These three are buffs that affect the player movement speed. Actually, these four are buffs. But this one's a stat buff, so that's a little different. So we'll include that separate. But we can do the other three by combining them into one, because we have a get buffs that accepts a vector of buff types instead. And they all end up having the same thing, so they can all go in one nice call right over here. Just saves a little bit of time. And then same with these guys. These are all buffs. So I'm going to rename this to debuff Again, just to make it more clear that, hey, these are debuffs. So if you're adding stuff, make sure they're debuffs and not buffs. Also, it looks like we don't need buff type in front of these from the looks of it. Oh, because they're just normal enums, so we can omit them. And then these three get brought together, like so. Oh, unless there is no get buffs with vector for player. Yeah, there isn't. It doesn't have an overload. I kind of want to add it because I added it for monsters, so we might as well make a match, right? Functionality-wise. So let's go to the get buffs implementation for monster and basically do the same thing. We can literally just one-for-one copy-paste this. The variables should be the same, I would say. I don't expect them not to be. Especially since we convert these to string views and ranges, like, they should very much be similar. Yeah. That all looks good. So let's go ahead and add that to our declarations here. Get buffs, but instead accept a vector of buff types. Okay. So now, let's go ahead and try this. Well, we still need to add it, right? So let me actually cancel that. And let's do... Did that work? I don't know if that worked. I have a break key. Yeah, it worked. So I have a break key, but it's on a function key, so sometimes I don't know if I pressed it or not. And the break key is the shortcut to cancel a build. So what I forgot to do was actually add the buff to get move speed multiplier. Oh, and now we're in Korean. So we'll add it to here because it's a slowdown. And we'll call it the, or it was called the freeze ground slowdown. Freeze ground slowdown. So just add that there in case it's applied. And we should apply it to monsters too. Like we should see like a reciprocate thing here, where all the same buffs lower the speed of the player as they do a monster. So what we do to one, we should also do to the other, and vice versa. So freeze ground slowdown should be here. Same with ink slowdown. And then self-inflicted slowdown, block slowdown. Like all these should be implemented on both sides. Like player doesn't have self-inflicted slowdown, so I'm going to just add it. And we could even go a step further maybe in the future and say, okay, make a list of all slowdowns in the game and all speedups in the game, and then just have both share those two lists together instead of composing them separately. Because either way, my expectation if I see the word slowdown in the buff type enum is that, oh, did I implement these already? Like, I always ask that question, right? I should be able to say, yes, I implemented them. I should expect that if the player has those, they get buffed up or sped up. Now for Adrenaline Rush, this is very specific. Like, this is supposed to buff up the speed, but also, like, the attack. So if I put it here, it might be inconsistent unless I put that buff also in another place. Because I think Adrenaline Rush does more than one thing. I could read up on it. Intensity indicates the stat count. Like, see, there's a couple of things that we have to look at here, which in turn increases attack. So increases the speed, but also the attack at the same time. Adrenaline Rush. I'm trying to think. I think it's an accessory enchant. So if I just go to our enchants, we can take a look at that real quick. Adrenaline. Every enemy killed during Adrenaline Rush. Oh, it's an ability? It affects ability 3 of a thief. Okay, so this is like literally player specific, which is probably why I didn't bother. But let's take a look anyway. Ability 3. So ability 3 is called Adrenaline Rush. Gain 30% increased attack speed and 10% increased movement speed for 8 seconds. So is this thing bugged? I think this is bugged. Look at this, because in player... Well, first of all, if you look at the comment I made for Adrenaline Rush, it says the intensity indicates the stack count. This buff gives, which in turn increases attack. So right here, we're multiplying by the intensity. But if the intensity is 1... Oh, okay, no, that's right, because we're increasing by 10% each time. So is that just a coincidence? Or the intensity is... I'm confused. Intensity is number of stacks. Does this work? I'm starting to think this increases your movement speed by 100%, because that's what 1 would be. And imagine if you had more than 1 stack. Is that right? Do I have a unit test for Adrenaline Rush? Now I want to check what it does. Ability... It would be ability 3 of a thief. I don't think I check if that actually works properly. Oh, here. Adrenaline Rush skill buff test. Let me look at that test real quick. Move speed multiplier is 1.0 by default. Attack rate cooldown starts with being reduced by 0 seconds. After using Adrenaline Rush, player has the buff. Move speed multiplier increased by 10%. So I do assert to make sure that occurs. I guess it works. Oh, because I probably set the intensity to 0.1. So that's probably why it actually works. Okay, maybe it works out then. I didn't think that it might be 0.1 instead of 1. Because it says number of stacks, but then that makes me think it's gonna be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I got a little scared for a moment that I might have implemented it incorrectly. Regardless, if the Adrenaline Rush buff were to necessarily be on the monster, same thing would occur. So I'm just making these two match. I think it makes sense to make them match. And so with freeze ground slowdown there, once again the player gets slowed down now. Alright, I think that's all the Git message we have to do though. I don't really think there's anything else, so we just have to commit the build. Then we're gonna be happy and good to go. Of course, we just have to test to make sure the player actually slows down now. We're good there. But this will be release build when it finishes. 12939. Today's been a fun coding day though. We got to mess with a lot of stuff, so that's always fun. And we got to like really condense a lot of the things we've been learning into like a couple lines, which is kind of cool to see. It's a little insane that we can condense like so much into so little. It's like, alright, get all entities in range and filter them by whether or not they're a skeleton mage or not a boss, and then verify that there are any, and if there are, then choose one randomly and target them, and then get the buffs, the correct buffs, and do what you need to do on them. Like, everything I just said there If we think about all the steps required to get to that point, there's a lot. That's a lot involved. Optimization can be addicting. It is. And then I look at other code and I'm like, yeah, we have more stuff now that we can use, as opposed to like, I look at some older code, I'm like, we're doing it the hard way. Okay, I can actually see I'm slowing down now, so that's working once again. And once I'm not in it, I start speeding back up, so. Yeah. It all works. I'm happy. We have a sped up crab. Actually, okay. See how the crab is getting sped up from like this range? I'm starting to be convinced that it's not quite working. Yeah, we can see the crab is still getting buffed. So I don't think the range is working. For some reason. And I'm not sure why. Oh, maybe it's because the cast position is at the player's position. It doesn't have a range. Okay, the range needs to be from the monster's position. I think. Yes. Only the targets within the monster's range, not the range. The cast position is always the player for monsters because they're trying to aim at the player, naturally. Unless I specify something else, but yeah. This should be at the monster's position, that's why. That's why we're having trouble. Alright, cool. I'm glad I realized that, because that's kind of silly. I'm like, why is that thing still getting buff? I swear I didn't break the range function that's deep inside there that we've been using for every single spell in the game. I promise I haven't broken that. So, it's clear I just messed that up. Yeah, it's an oopsie. Okay, so now this thing will get buffed. Or I guess they want to buff these guys, but if the crab gets close enough to them, they will buff the crab. So that is a lot of stacked frozen ground, I will say. So yeah, I think it's working now. Yeah, it's working great. Silly guy. Hey, pushed me into that one. Rude. Okay. So yeah, everything's working. Everything's happy. I'm happy. Okay. I also like the number of particles that are on the blizzard now. I like what we've done there, so that's good. So I'm happy with all that. Okay. I think I had to rebuild a second time, so it's probably 12,939. Cool. So let's go ahead and commit that. And now let's look at one more ability we have to implement. Not sure if we'll finish it today, but let's see if we can get started. So the Thunder Orb. Creates an orb that moves towards the player, dealing every second within 100 range of the player 100% attack damage. So we'll be probably creating a bullet, because bullets have the ability to move, they have an update function, a draw function, and it deals damage in a 100 range. Since it's like a thunder orb, I'd imagine we kind of want like little lightning bolts like flying out of it. I do have like a function that produces lightning from point A to point B with like a bend in it, a bend or two in it. Like it's literally a lightning generator. So we might be able to use that. I just have to see how usable that is, because I did make it a while back. I just need to figure out if it's actually usable. Okay, so let's see. Where? Apply lightning shock. So we have like this chain lightning thing. Apply lightning shock. Oh, I see, it's recursive. Set to higher amount to indicate when this monster instead affects monsters due to... What? Is that supposed to... Is that a sentence? Set to higher amount to indicate when this monster instead affects monsters due to the enchantment. Oh, I see. Okay. That would... Oh, it's saying for that argument. Which changes which shock count variable we look at and will be used for counting down shock times. Right. Like, enchantments make the code a whole lot more complicated, right? Because they change the behavior or conditions that a normal ability runs at. So, I'm trying to see where the lightning part of this, connection part of this happens. It wouldn't be in here because this has nothing to do with rendering. Unless there's like a vector creating these things, which I don't see. It must be an effect. Let's look at effect. It's been a minute. I don't see any effects called that. Is it just a file somewhere? Do I just have a file called lightning? Let me see. Lightning. That's Korean again. Thank you. Lightning. Oh, there we go. We have a lightning bolt emitter. Draw a lightning bolt. Start pause, end pause. Okay, so it uses just the start pause and end pause variables to determine how to get there. Chooses a random distance to it. Adds the lightning line. And while either it doesn't reach the max iterations allowed, which is 100 apparently, or the line has reached its destination, it draws more lines in random angles towards its target. I know how to type in Korean. It's not, I mean, it's just a standard, you know, your standard keyboard layout, but yeah, being able to type in Korean, okay, like banana, or an young, I forget where a lot of these are. Haseyo. 안녕하세요. Yeah. But yeah. At some points in my life I had to use it, so I do know it, and I briefly remember where all the locations of the keys are. I just have to like jump around a little bit to remember in my brain. And yeah, sometimes I need it, so it's just on my thing. Usually I have the switcher off though, that way I'm not accidentally going to it over and over, especially in code. Oh my god. One of my earlier game projects literally uses some Korean macros because the name for it in English is like too long, so I actually used a Korean name instead. I think it was like a scene. Like a scene in a game, like a cutscene, but instead of cutscene, I could just write, I don't even remember the name of it anymore, but it was literally just one block of, it's one character, right? But you have to type like 3 keys for it, so it was clearly faster to type that, so that's why I did every time. Multilingual codebase, yes. So I think if we spawn a lightning bolt emitter, we get lightning effect. So we can just spawn lightning bolt emitters over and over, or maybe this just uses frequency. I think as long as... I'm trying to think how this works, because like we have a frequency here, so what does that mean? It just like keeps spawning these? Because the emit function draws a lightning bolt, but just a single lightning bolt. Like it doesn't remember the state of... Oh, it does. Well, it adds an effect. Okay, that makes more sense, and that lasts for a second. So the frequency determines like how many times the lightning appears. and we can call emit over and over to keep drawing more lightning bolts. If we change the start pause and end pause, are these const? Okay, they're not const, so they're flexible enough to where we can change them mid-run. We don't have to like generate a new lightning bolt emitter every single time, unless we want to. So this looks very usable. We could probably do this. I'm gonna try it. And yeah, we are getting a little close to finishing coding here, so I think what I'm going to focus on for at least today, let's try to get the thunder orb appearing on screen and this lightning effect like working. And then we can worry about the behaviors of like moving towards the target, dealing damage and stuff tomorrow. That should be pretty easy. So I need a graphic. I think we already have something suitable for this. I'm just going to take a quick peek. I'm looking for like an orb, but I'm pretty sure I've made an orb before that like I can use. Like there's this ink bubble thing. Ink bullet? Yeah, I want to use something like this for the center. This is a little small though, so maybe I will just make it larger. Let me do like 36 by 36, which is 1.5 times. I don't like how that's scaled, but it'll do for now. If anything, we'll change it later. Lightning, so let me do like whites and yellows. Oh god. Oh, disguised Doritos. Thank you for the subscribe. I appreciate that. Okay, let's do like an orange reddish. No. Let's go for like the yellow. That'll be fine for now. I guess we'll try to keep the like transparency kinda. I think that would be cool. So let's do like, here's my eraser, please. Something like that. And then let's just make this thing light. Or, well, we could do like red-ish. Orange-ish. I'm okay with this. I'll just leave it like this for now. So this is going to be our thunder orb. Now that I think about it, thunder is a sound. Lightning is an actual thing. No problem. I saw a video on YouTube. Are you developing Adventures in Lestoria? I am. I am the programmer for the game. So, yeah. Glad you saw that, and thank you for the subscribe. I kind of want this to have like an outline thing. Maybe that's what I'll do with the extra pixels that the scaling added by accident. But yeah, just slowly working on it. And we're currently on working on chapter 4 out of 5, so it sounds like we're getting close to done, and we kind of are, but there's still a lot to do, of course. Saying almost done would be... I would not say the game's almost done yet. I guess I'll put it that way. There's still a lot to do. But my hope is to, because I've been continuously motivated lately to work on the game, I'm just kind of riding the wave right now and trying to get as much done as I can. I've been streaming the game programming consistently for the last like 3 weeks, so it's pretty promising in the sense of I think I have some really good momentum right now. I have like a good plan. I know exactly what has to be done, just have to do it, right? It's like we're in pretty good shape here. Just a matter of chugging along little by little, getting everything done. So Thunder Orb, let me add it to the list of graphics. Graphics, Thunder Orb. Just Thunder Orb, no underscore, .png. Yeah. It's coming along nicely. Okay, so we have that. We're gonna go into monster ability and we're going to just call... So I could make it an effect, but really it's a bullet. Bullet already has functions related to position and movement, so maybe, yeah, let's do bullet. Although the bullet will actually change over time, like it's gonna be moving towards the player, so I'm thinking... Either way, we're gonna have to develop a custom bullet, so... Oh, actually, maybe not. There's homing bullet right here. Is this generic enough to use? If player is covered in ink... Oh, I see. This is a homing bullet that was made for the boss fight. And then it homes in. I see. But it does accept a rotation towards speed covered in ink. So we can still use it. It's still generic enough. It accepts an entity. Does it have an image? I don't see a place to specify the image. So that might be the only issue. It looks like it's just a generic bullet with no image. But I would like to specify one. That would be nice. Like, that's my thing with bullet. We can modify the draw function. So maybe I will derive a bullet off of homing bullet. Because that could work. Does bullet accept an image though? I feel like it should. Okay, there's a second constructor for it. So if we make a second constructor for homing bullet, we should be able to utilize that too. Or we make it optional and then populate it if we need to. Because I guess, is it just blank if it's optional? Let me see. iBullet. So if there's no animation, what happens? I assume it's just blank? That's kind of weird. Like, let me see. Do we like check if it has one or something? Or do we assume every bullet has an animation? But then how do I use bullets that are just colored and don't have an image? Draw decal, draw circle. Bullets are always circles. Okay. For some reason, I thought we had the ability to specify an image. Oh, here it is. If animated. Okay, so we set the animated boolean and then it does that. There it is. Okay, that makes more sense. So animated controls whether or not we use an image. So, now, knowing all this now, I think the play is to make a second constructor for homing bullet that does accept an image. Maybe removes this rotate towards speed covered in ink value. Because that's oddly specific. But this is generic enough to where I can actually use it for this purpose as well. Standard string ref animation, which we can pass along to the second version of the bullet constructor. I just have to add this to bullet types. Find homing bullet. And we'll just throw it in here as well. So then we're back here. And we want to use the second. So right after damage should be animation. Okay, so the parameters are, just to make sure, pause, spell, radius, damage, animation, upper level friendly. Friendly is not in here. Okay, so it goes upper level. Hits multiple. Hits multiple will be false. Lifetime, which we just deleted, right? And then rotates with angle. False. Friendly type is going to be... Well, that should be determined by the parameter, should it not? Yeah. So pass in friendly. Color, scale, image angle, hit sound. Okay, we don't need any of that. In fact, the bullet itself is not going to deal any damage. So I need to figure that part out. I think I just set the radius to 0, honestly, for that one. But what I need to do is, now that I have this, I need to derive this homing bullet into another class that does extra stuff on top of the homing functionality. Because we're going to need that. So... like, this is great and all, but we're going to have to add more. I don't know why this is... inherited member is not allowed. What? I don't know what that means. Does it not build? This should be valid code. I would hope. Okay, but yes, let's work on that. So we're gonna add a new bullet type that's derived from a homing bullet called a thunder orb. Syntax error, void should be preceded by a semicolon. Oh, I probably just forgot the semicolon. Of course. Here we go. Should be nice and happy now. Cool. Back over here. So... thunder orb. We're going to hard code a lot of the parameters. That way we don't have to make a very long constructor. And it's derived from the homing bullet class. So thunder orb. We're going to give it a position, a target, so that it chases that target. We'll still give it a rotate towards speed, and then we'll give it the lifetime, speed, radius. So the radius is for the attack radius, not necessarily the radius of the orb. So I'm going to change this so I'm not confused. Attack radius, the damage per tick. I guess we have to include like the tick rate because we're going to be dealing damage. Tick rate per tick. Upper level, friendly, color, scale, image angle. I think that's everything we'll need to make this work. And then we have an update function. We have a modify outgoing damage data function. We store the target. And I guess we don't need these two because they're stored in homing bullet. Same with this one. Cool. So the nice thing about deriving from that class is a lot of the member functions just go away. We don't have to worry about it. So we don't have to worry about implementing these three. So we're going to make a new CPP file called Thunder Bullet or Thunder Orb. Okay, so inside here, our goal is to implement these three. Bullet types. Let's include this copyright statement. And then add add in the class name. For the constructor, we have to call the parent constructor with the proper parameters. So we're going to do that. Homing bullet. And in here, we're going to fill in quite a bit. We're using the second one that we created, not the first. So pause, target, rotate towards speed. The animation, which is going to be thunderorb.png. Lifetime. So we have that parameter. The rest should just be parameters passed on. Speed, radius. So this radius is actually going to be 0, as in it's not going to deal damage itself. You can't collide with it. Hi there, Pyrai. Welcome to the stream. We're currently working on a spell called Thunder Orb. We're currently creating the orb that's going to spawn in game for the attack. Let's see. This is supposed to be upper level. The previous one was supposed to be the damage. So this is going to be... I guess the damage of the bullet is 0. It's just the damage of the orb is going to be different. So we're actually going to store a couple things. We're going to store these 3 separately because those are specific to the Thunder Orb compared to the homing bullet. So we'll put those as private members in here. Attack radius, damage per tick, and the tick rate. And then we just have to populate those, which we will do in a second. Still have to finish this up. The friendly type of the bullet, the color, the scale, and the image angle. So now the 3 parameters we're passing in were attack radius, goes into attack radius, or comes from attack radius. Tick rate and damage per tick. So damage per tick. And then tick rate. Cool. So that's everything that Thunder Orb needs to initialize. So next up is the update function itself. Since it homes in on a target, it's going to already be moving on its own. We don't have to make that functionality, but we do have to call the parent functionality to make that happen. So we're going to just say homing bullet update because we're overriding the functionality. So we need to still... We are responsible for calling the parent if we want the parent update function to occur, which we do. Modify outgoing data. We're probably going to override this one because, well, for one, the Thunder Orb isn't going to be doing the damage. So this actually should never occur. If it does, something's wrong. So we can actually tell the game to crash if that occurs, because that should never occur. So warning, Thunder Orb is supposed to deal 0 damage. So this should not be happening. This should not be happening. So if we got in here, something went terribly wrong. Okay, we need to include error. And so I did say we're going to try to do the lightning stuff as well while we were in here. Oh, I see. I just forgot the quotation mark. So we're going to have to bring in a lightning emitter. So we will do that. Lightning emitter. lightning bolt emitter, lightning. And we're gonna have to initialize it, I presume. I think I can make it const. I don't know if I can make it const. Probably not, actually. So let's just not make it const, and we're just gonna go lightning bolt. Lightning is start position. So start position will be our pause. End position will be any radius around the thunder orb that it hits. So I'm just gonna at first say it's at pause, like the start and end positions are the same. The frequency, so I'm just gonna try like once a second for now. I don't know what timer is, or I forgot what timer is. What is timer and why do we have it? Let's take a look. Is timer the lifetime? Is that what it is? Because I should have just called it lifetime if that was the case. Why are we not going to lightning bolt emitter? Timer. Timer is part of emitter, and timer... Yeah, timer counts down. I'm gonna change this variable to lifetime. Every other thing that dies due to a timer uses a variable called lifetime, so I think it's really confusing that we don't use it here. It's what I would expect. How did you get inspiration for your game? So actually the funny thing is, the game isn't designed by me. I asked my Discord community, like, hey, I kind of don't have a project right now. I'm looking for a big game project, like a serious game project. Is there anybody that has a good game idea and wants to help me design a game? And I got somebody that stepped up and wanted to make one, and I liked the idea. It was like an SNES style retro action adventure RPG. I'm like, hey, let's do it. I'm totally down for that. I love those kinds of games. So that's kind of how it started for me. So I'm not actually the designer of the game. I just programmed the game. So my game designer, he also makes all the levels for the game. So that's also very helpful. So I'm glad I have like a little bit of delegation for this game versus like me doing every single part of it, because I'm sure that would be exhausting and take a lot more time. Yeah, so it worked out pretty nicely. I was just like, hey, I personally didn't have any really good game ideas. I was just doing my regular make like prototype stuff, right? Just test out different ideas. Make things I found fun. Usually those kinds of things don't get past the prototype stage. But it's like, I just wanted to make it for sillies, for learning, right? And I have like thousands of those. So I proposed, hey, let's see if we can make a project out of this. This turned out to be the one. I've had a couple projects in the past I tried to collaborate with others on, but it doesn't quite work out a lot of times. For a lot of reasons. It can be... Honestly, most of the times when projects don't work out, it's usually just because nobody has time, right? Like, people get busy, can't commit the time. Even myself, a lot of last year, near the end of last year, I wasn't working on this game because I was busy with life, so... It happens. But at this moment, I'm really motivated. I have a lot of momentum. So I'm just riding the wave right now. We're gonna see if we can just push to the finish line. I think this is really good momentum right now. I will say, I'm feeling really good right now. So I will happily push this as far as we can go. Okay, the argument is still called timer. I need to fix that too. So lightning bolt emitter. Let's see here. I'm gonna change this to lifetime. I just want the parameter name to match what the actual thing is. And finally, upper level. We should be good there. Alright. So I think I have the framework set up. Obviously, we're not gonna see it working yet. I still have to set up like how we detect like the radius and the angle for the lightning bolts, and obviously we have to see it in action, but framework set up. We'll be able to finish up Thunder Orb tomorrow, and then that is all the monster abilities implemented. So we can move on to other monsters. We just gotta churn out the rest of the monster AIs. So that's gonna be the focus on, not tomorrow, but on Monday. I don't code on the weekends anymore. Mostly to save my sanity and more plans. So yeah. I hope you all enjoyed this week. It's been a lot of fun. We got a lot done. And thank you all that tuned in today. Again, thank you Disguised Doritos for a sub today. I appreciate that. And you all have a good one. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next week. Bye. Thank you. You too. Yeah, thank you.